Thanks, guys. This is a Fox News alert, and Happy New Year. We have got breaking news on a high-profile murder mystery with a victim who has connections to 3 different presidents. Welcome to America Live on a Tuesday, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Right now, police are trying to piece together clues in the death of this man. John Wheeler had a long and illustrious career of service to our country. A West Point graduate, he's championed the effort to build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall. He had deep ties to the U.S. military and served in the Reagan administration and both Bush administrations. But this American patriot did not get the burial he deserved. Instead, his body found late last week at a Delaware garbage dump. And just in the last couple of hours, police have developed a new lead on what they believe may have happened. Eric Shawn is live in our New York newsroom with more. Eric?
Megan, now we know that he was last seen alive less than 24 hours before his body fell out of that garbage truck in that landfill. But the question of this hour, why was he murdered and who did it? Police in Delaware say 66-year-old John Wheeler was seen on the afternoon of Thursday, December 30th in downtown Wilmington, right near the prestigious Hotel DuPont. That's just blocks away from an attorney's office representing Wheeler and his wife in a lawsuit against a neighbor. Now police are appealing to the public for help because they don't know where he was killed. They're also trying to nail down the timeline where he was in the hours before his body was found in the landfill after it fell out of the garbage truck that had been picking up trash, not in Wilmington, but in the city of Newark, Delaware. That truck went to 10 dumpsters. Police say, based on the autopsy, the body was not in one of the dumpsters for very long. You know, you would think that it would actually take 2 people to try and put a body in a dumpster, all part of the investigation. The police say Wheeler was not reported missing because his family was out of town for the holidays. Friends say they are shocked.
Somebody who was as respectable, as well-liked, and as involved in high-minded causes as he had been, it just did not make any sense. So in addition to the tragedy of such a well-meaning, patriotic, generous person being killed, there was just the incongruity of this kind of crime happening.
Wheeler's wife runs a fashion line, and his family issued a simple statement saying, "This is a tragic time. We are grieving for our loss." Other than that, they would have no further comment. They did release this photograph you're looking at right now of Wheeler, very recent, hoping that someone will recognize him and help police trace his last movements. And as you said, besides helping found the iconic Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., he recently had been trying to get the ROTC back on college campuses, especially at Harvard and Stanford. Friends say they received emails from him just around Christmas in which he wished them a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and thoughts that were filled with optimistic sentiments. Those friends now mourning this senseless killing.
Eric Shawn, thank you. Well, again, John Wheeler had a very impressive resume. He graduated from West Point Military Academy back in 1966, got an MBA from Harvard 3 years later, graduated from Yale Law School in 1975, and then went on to work for 3 presidential administrations at the Pentagon. He held the job of Special Assistant to the Secretary of the Air Force and received the Air Force Exceptional Civilian Award in 2008. Now, my guest this hour, Lieutenant General Tom McInerney, is a longtime Fox News contributor. He knew John Wheeler well, and he will join us in about 30 minutes or so to explain why he thinks this must now become a federal investigation. Well, new developments this afternoon on the murder of John Wheeler, an American patriot, and the force behind the Vietnam War Memorial. His body was found in a Delaware landfill, and our next guest knew John Wheeler very well, and he wants some answers. Lieutenant General Tom McInerney is the former Assistant Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force and a Fox News military analyst. Tom, thanks so much for being here, and my condolences on the loss of your friend. This is a tragedy, and it's really disturbing. As his friends say, this is not somebody who you ever thought would meet this sort of end. And now you are saying that this needs to go beyond a police investigation and be escalated to an FBI investigation. Why?
Well, absolutely, Megan. Look, this is a national tragedy. Jack Wheeler, as we called him, John Wheeler, but he really went by Jack, had done so much and crossed so many paths of helping military families, military people. He was the leading fundraiser to help get the Vietnam Memorial going and a host of other things. 3 presidents have used him. He was a go-to-it person. Now, what is disturbing is this had to be a professional hit job. I got my last email from Jack on the 21st. Other people have gotten them on Christmas Day. And he had a very large electronic footprint. He put out hundreds of emails a day, perhaps. And he had lots of connections. Most of the well-known correspondents in the D.C. area knew him, had worked with him. Former Secretary of the Air Force Mike Wynn, he was his civilian assistant and extremely close to him. They were classmates at West Point, along with General Petraeus and others. So something went amiss. And the way he was dumped into that landfill tells me that somebody deliberately went out and got him. Now, I don't know why, but he had some of the highest security clearances this nation has, Megan, and it needs to be looked at by the FBI. Something is very, very wrong and a great tragedy to America.
And they said that his expertise was in chemical and biological warfare, even though he was very much opposed to the use of that kind of weaponry, they said. But could it be that somebody thought he knew a little too much about some subjects that were a little too dangerous? And does this look to you, because you mentioned a professional hit, does it look to you like it has earmarks of that other than the body being disposed of after the murder as opposed to left in the place?
Well, because it was disposed the way it was, there was a professionalism to it. If you hit a guy and rob him or something, you normally leave him there. The fact is his latest expertise was really in cyber warfare. It was early in his days while he was still in the military that he wrote a paper on chemical weapons. But his real and latest expertise was cyber warfare, in which he helped Mike Wynn and General Buzz Mosley lead the Air Force of all the services into that area. And I participated in a number of meetings when he went with MITRE, that he had convened a group of experts, and we discussed cyber warfare. So that's the area that really concerns me. He was very, very knowledgeable in that, plus the very high security clearances he had. That's why I think that the FBI has got to get involved with this and find out who did this.
Now, there were reports that his home was surrounded by police who were just investigating, after his body was discovered, police who were just investigating, what may have happened, and that some floorboards had been pulled up in the kitchen. In the wake of that, and who knows what that came from, maybe it was the police looking for clues, maybe it was there before, but how does one get this escalated from a local police investigation to an FBI investigation?
Well, the U.S. government, DOD, can do that. There are other people in the state that can make recommendations. I personally think the Secretary of the Air Force or the Office of the Secretary of Defense ought to get the FBI involved with it, because he had Air Force clearances, and as I say, they were very sensitive clearances.
Should they rule out this dispute with the neighbors first? Because they say that he was in this contentious litigation with his neighbors. If they, and I'm not saying they had anything to do with it, but obviously they'll investigate that. But if this was a local dispute kind of thing, the argument would be, why involve the FBI?
Well, a very good question and a very good point. The fact is because we don't know, I think the FBI ought to come in, and if they get those signals that was the direction, then they can just ease it back to the local officials. But if they see something else, then that's where they ought to be playing an important role.
I know that you believe your friend was an extraordinary American, and most people agree with that, and that his name ought to be joined with those others that are on the Vietnam Memorial. Lieutenant General Tom McInerney, thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thanks, Megan.